Canines are our passion. They are our addiction. They are our way of life, right down to the very core. And without them, we would be lost. The canines of this world really are something to behold. They assist us at work. They accompany us at home. And they perform for us in the field. No matter where we go, they are by our side. Canines really are a ride or die, and for that, we are grateful. This podcast will showcase working canines of various breeds and disciplines as we search for those canines and their handlers who are always striving to be the best at what they do. Those who are always grinding. Those who are always pushing the limits. Those who are always dogging. Join us on our adventures as it is sure to be a wild ride. I'm your host, Bryce Matthews.
And I'm your co-host, Stephen Basham.
And this is Semper Doggin'. The Semper Doggin' podcast is proudly presented to you by Froggy Bottom Outdoors. Froggy Bottom Outdoors is the newest outdoor and hunting supply, habitat management, and livestock feed provider in the Midwest. With a wide variety of products, a unique business model, and a dedicated team of individuals who are eager to provide their customers with an unparalleled shopping experience, you will not have to search any further than Froggy Bottom Outdoors. With brands such as Garmin, Yoder Nylon, Banks Hunting Blinds, Razor Hunting Gear, Purina Mills, Kalmbach Feeds, Anuksha, Real World Products, and many more, Froggy Bottom Outdoors has you covered from the farm to the woods. Visit FroggyBottomOutdoors.com today and follow them on Facebook to see how they can help you. Not finding what you're looking for online? No problem. Feel free to give the store a call at 765-330-2098. The team at Froggy Bottom Outdoors is excited to get to know you and would be glad to answer any questions you may have. All right, guys, welcome to another episode of the Semper Doggin' podcast. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are glad to have you here. Today, I've got your co-host, Stephen Basham, and we are joined by our brother down in the south in the Chuska Mountains, Mr. Calvin Redhouse himself. Mr. Calvin, how are you?
Great, man. Great. Loving life.
Glad to have you here, Basham. How are you? Fair?
You working hard or hardly working, Calvin?
Hardly working.
Whew. If only we all could be like him, Bryce.
I know it. We'd be living large. What you been doing up to, Basham, huh? What you been up to? Anything good?
Just same old, still working down here in Elizabethtown, and got my room kind of set up. It's not perfect, but I'm not driving 63 miles to Dad's house one way every single morning and every single afternoon. So I'm about 12 minutes from the job site. So we're down here building a battery plant. So we're still rocking and rolling and doing that thing.
Heck yeah. Well, guys, I wanted to bring Calvin on here. I know you guys have heard him on a couple other podcasts, but we want to do things just a little bit different here. We like to do that over here at Semper Doggin', and I really just wanted to feature Calvin this week. I was able to go down there and hunt with Calvin a couple years ago. Actually, I was just looking through some pictures earlier, Calvin, and man, I was fat when I came down there hunting with you. That was bad.
What's changed, Bryce?
Hey,
no. I don't think anything's changed.
Man, you guys are tough. I was sitting there. I was just showing Nikki some pictures about it, and I was like, man, it was beautiful when we went down there hunting, and just really wanted to be able to showcase that and get you here on the podcast and give some of the listeners who maybe haven't heard you before, haven't been able to follow you on Instagram, Res Hounds. Is Res Hounds where they can find you?
Yeah, but Res Hounds on Facebook, and then I believe it was ResHounds_16 on Instagram. So pretty much those are the only two social media sites that I post to all the time.
Yeah.
I do have a YouTube channel, but that kind of, fell on the back burner, and I just haven't picked it back up. I think I posted like 2 videos, and then after that, I kind of just like, you know what? I'm all right. I don't need those. I don't need YouTube right now. I'll just stick with, Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah.
I'm not big time like Bryce. Need all these different channels. So
Maybe one day we'll be big time, brother. Maybe one day. But
We're
no,
trying.
guys,
We're trying.
we really did just want to sit down here with Calvin tonight, and just get to introduce you to him and who he is and what he does. He does things a little different than a lot of us out here in the East. He's got different circumstances. He's got different terrain. He's got a different way of becoming a houndsman, and we really just want to showcase that. Calvin, why don't you go ahead and give listeners just a little short bio on who you are, where you came from, and maybe a little bit of time before you got into the hounds.
all right, man. Hey, no problem. Like Bryce saying, my name's Calvin Redhouse. Born and raised here on the Navajo Nation Reservation. If you don't know where that's right near the Four Corners. The reservation is not like a lot of other reservations. You drive on the reservation, and 10 seconds later, you're off the reservation. Our reservation is 7 million acres of Navajo trust land that was given to us by the government. And I've lived here all my life, went to school here all the way up to high school, did a little bit of college. After that, realized I didn't appreciate homework too much, so I left and joined the Marine Corps right a year after 9/11, and never looked back. Yes, sir. Did 10 and a half years, deployed 5 times, 1 time to Iraq, 4 times to Afghanistan. That's my whole time in the Marine Corps was, Yuma, Arizona, then San Diego, Yukon, Japan, a lot of times in 29 Palms, a lot of times in Okinawa, a lot of time spent over there, Guam, Philippines. I was pretty much an island jumper, just hopping from island to island, working on all kinds of stuff. And then from there, I went to North Carolina. And there in North Carolina is when I, decided to call it quits. The war was over. They were pulling out of there. And I just got put into a position where I was constantly babysitting 24/7, Come Monday morning, didn't matter. Got in my service alphas and waited in front of the First Sergeant's office. It's like, yep, I know somebody messed up today, so might as well just stand here and wait to get yelled at. And then, I just got tired of being a glorified, overpaid babysitter. So I said, this is it. I'm getting out of here, and called it quits. And that was in 2014, I believe it was. So it's been a minute since I've been out.
Month?
April.
Ooh, we're about to hijack this post, and it's going to turn into. You remember Tool? What was it, Bryce? Tim Toolman Taylor, where they go ho 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 ho.
Yeah.
Him and Al, me and him's gonna just sit here and talk about the Marine Corps. I got out in June of 2014.
Okay.
Yep.
Sweet. Yeah. Let's see. After that, it was about 6 months before I decided to get out, and my brother-in-law, who is a game warden here on the Navajo Reservation, was sending me pictures, and he was sending me pictures of him holding mountain lions that he's went on depredation calls for and whatnot. And he asked me, and he's like, do they do a lot of coon hunting out there in North Carolina? And I was like, yeah. And I was like, yep, they do it religiously out here. And he's like, well, do you think you can get some dogs from out there and bring it back? I was like, yeah, that's not a problem. So I met this old man right outside of the east gate there in Camp Lejeune, and I spent like 2 weekends with him. He wouldn't sell me the dogs. He wouldn't sell me any pups until I spent some time with him, and he pretty much interviewed me and asked me what I was going to do with his line, what they were going to be chasing, get to know me as a person, as an individual, to see if his dogs would actually be well taken care of. And he tried to, take me out coon hunting. I went 2 times. The first time wasn't so bad. We went in the evening times where I could see the ground. I'm not too big on snakes, so the evening time was okay. The other time we went after the sun went down, it was like 11 o'clock. He's like, all right, let's go. We went out there and we started walking. and it was dry. It was dry. It got muddy. Next thing you know, I was like ankle deep in water, and I was like, "Where are we at?" And he goes, "Oh, we're in the swamps. The dog's tree. About another 300-400 yards." I looked around. I saw a snake, cruising the top of the water, and I was like, "Nope, I'll wait for you. I'll wait for you back at the UTV. I'll wait right there, man." So he went on, and I went back to the UTV, and I stayed there. And ever since then, I was like, "Nope, I'm good at coon hunting. I'm not built for the swampy mess, man."
Something
So
about the North
he
Carolina
got the
swamps.
dogs.
Something about the North Carolina
Yep.
swamps is you can you don't wear hip boots in North Carolina. You wear tennis shoes because it don't matter. It don't matter what you're walking in. You're going to end up with a boot full of water.
Yeah, man. I mean, I remember like a couple of times we were going on our morning 06 PT run and going right down the fitness trail. Next thing you know, everybody's jumping off to the left. There's a damn alligator in the goddamn path, and you're like, "Nope, that's it. Turn around. Let's go back to the mangrove." So that was the case, and we got to know each other pretty good. And he said, "All right, well, what do you want?" And I was like, "Well, I'll take a male and a female," and he let them go, and I brought him back with my family. It was me, my wife, and my son at the time was just us three, and we packed up the truck from North Carolina, drove south because this was the snow was pretty bad in the middle of the country, so we decided to drive down south to Florida and stay down low all the way back to Arizona. So we made a good old, I don't know, like a week trip coming back across. Went down to Myrtle Beach, stayed there. Jacksonville, Florida, stayed there. New Orleans, stayed there. San Antonio, and pretty much made a big old vacation out of it all the way back with two little puppies. So that was pretty interesting. And
Sounds like a long trip.
Oh yeah, it was pretty long, but we were able to talk with the hotel, and they were able to, when we decided to go out and go sightseeing and whatnot, the clerk was like, "Yeah, of course they're two little walker puppies, and everybody likes the way they look when they're puppies." So the clerks were like, "Yeah, here, you can bring them downstairs, and we'll watch them behind the desk." So it worked
I don't
out
think
in
that
our
would
favor,
fly
and we
today.
were there.
I don't think that would fly
So-
today. I mean, hotels are not that nice about dogs anymore.
Well, if you look at what is it called, La Quinta, they're really big on welcoming dogs.
I'm gonna have to check into that.
So-
La Quinta.
Yep, La Quinta. Yep, they're big on dogs. So that's so that happened. I got back to the reservation, and I had two. About this time they were right around 9 weeks old pups, and just introduced them to the rest of the pack that my brother-in-law had already going, and just tagged along and learned everything. My brother-in-law became my mentor, and he was fish and wildlife, so he pretty much taught me everything I knew. How did he get into it?
Yeah, I was going to say, like, how did your brother-in-law get into that? Because I thought I must have had my memory wrong, because I had thought that you and him had started things together. I did remember he was fish and wildlife, but I thought you guys started the hound thing together.
Nah. He started way before me, like at least a year and a half before me, I believe it was, maybe even longer. Well, anyway, he does a lot of depredation calls here on the reservation with bears and mountain lions attacking, the domestic livestock, sheep, horses, cows. And when that happens, him, and if he was lucky enough, he'd have a partner go with him, and they would sit in the sheep pen or whatever it is that the livestock owner had at the time, sit in there and wait for that that predator to come back, spotlight him, and then shoot him that way. And a couple of times when they spotlighted them, you only have maybe 2-3 seconds before that animal figure out what's going on and bolts out of the corral. They wounded the animal, and they had to go in there and track it, And a couple of times, the mountain lion or the bear. I remember one story he told me. He was walking, and they were looking on the ground, searching with the spotlight back and forth. Next thing you know, he felt something hit his hat, and he looked up, shined the light into the tree, and he had ran into that bear's foot. That bear was sitting right on top, and they walked right. They were looking on the bottom on the ground for that bear because they thought it was dead, and he had crawled a tree, and they ran right into the rear paw as it was dangling off. And after that, they both, him and his partner's last friend at the time, talked about it. And like, there's got to be a safer way. There's got to be a different way to do this than, us doing this late at night and waiting for this animal to get back. And right around that time, they reintroduced hound hunting's not big in this area. Was not big in this area. They introduced it, and they had a couple of guys that were coming around and hound hunting, some non-natives that were coming around and using their dogs. And when they would check these non-native hunters that would come onto the reservation to hunt, some of them, they didn't like the dogs that they had, or the dog was just getting too old, or the dog was wounded, and the hunter was about to, put the dog down, because it takes about 4 hours to get to any veterinarian from anywhere you're at on the reservation. You have to drive. Yeah, you have to drive at least 3 hours off the reservation to get to a veterinarian. And then, depending on where you're at on the mountain or on the reservation, it takes about an hour to get to the main road from wherever you're at. So about 4 hours to get to a vet.
Yeah, and I'm gonna
hunters
I'm gonna jump in for 1 second, and just paint this picture for the listeners. Guys, where Calvin lives and where he hunts on a daily basis is unlike anything I've ever seen. It is rough. It is rugged. It's dangerous. And it's out in the middle of nowhere. When I went down there and pulled into his house that one time when we went down there hunting with you, I was like, are we ever going to get there? I mean, there's the main road is not really a main road, but we would consider here out east. I mean, it's rough where you live at. So I can definitely see that. If you've got to go to a vet or you've got to go somewhere right now, that doesn't happen. Right now, it doesn't happen where you live.
Yeah, and then the whole, idea of how humane are you going to be? Are you going to let this dog suffer a 3 hour, 4 hour trip to get to a veterinarian, or would you rather, if you know that the wounds are just too bad, he's not going to make the trip anyway, you just to do the humane thing and put that animal down. So a couple of times that would happen, and they didn't want the dogs no more, and so my brother-in-law and his partner would just take these dogs in, and they would, work with them, and a couple of times before they had the Alpha 100 and the TT10s, they didn't have no telemetry collars either, so they would just let the dogs go and then, chase the hounds like back in the good old days, way back before all three of our times. And then spend countless hours out there running around shouting for that dog and looking for the dog. And so that's how he started, and he kind of brought the pack along to where now they were decent. They were decent enough. They could get the job done if the track was warm to hot. Anywhere in between there, the dog could get it done. And I introduced my two little walkers, and we just brought in different bloodlines from different places, brought in different dogs, brought in just about any and everything wherever we could get it from. Out here where I'm at is mainly either all mixed dogs or straight blue ticks. It's pretty hard to find walkers out this way. Not a lot of people have walkers. Why is that? I don't know. I'm not too sure.
Well, you don't have to worry about going very far very fast then, right?
No, to be honest with you, we really don't, to be honest with you. Even the bobcats, like you get a bobcat jump or you get a bobcat trailing, bobcats don't really get messed with around here. They'll hear the dogs and go straight into the tree. They hardly ever do any loops. They don't double back. They don't jump tracks. They'll just go straight into the tree. And if your dog can locate, you're in a good place, man.
Now, why do
So
you think
there's
that is, Calvin? Do you think that's because the area that you're hunting is so spread out and wide that they're not getting pressured? They're not used to being dogs?
that's exactly it. I mean, when you were out here, we never ran into another single hound hunter the entire week you were out here. On average, there's probably maybe like 2 hound hunters on the reservation that will be out during a single time, and you're not going to ever run into that other hound hunter. I mean, it's 7 million acres of what you would consider public land for everybody if you got a tag. So if you got a tag, the land that you can hunt is the same land that I can hunt, and it's all public to you, the entire reservation. There is no such thing as private property, private land on the reservation. It's all one big Navajo trust land
Oh
that
man, now that would be nice.
Navajos are allowed to live on. They don't own it. They just lease that 1 acre. So if a Navajo wanted to buy a house or build a house, they'd ask for land and they would get a homeside lease, and that homeside lease will be just 1 acre that would be theirs. That's it. And then if they wanted to plant or do other things, then they get a land use permit, and that one will be, sectioned off for them and told, hey, this is the land that you have to use to grow or do with it what you will, but it's not yours. And then the homeside lease is where their house would be.
Yeah,
So
it's definitely a different way of life. It's interesting. Whenever I was down there, you were trying to explain all that to me and trying to take it all in and just think about how, you guys are super connected to the land and to where you live, and everybody's just trying to help everybody out there, from what I could tell. Maybe it was just an outsider looking in, but that was my impression.
Yeah, it is that way. Not everybody kind of considers everything as everybody's, that you do get a few, hotheads or hard-headed individuals that try to claim everything, but, you try explaining to them how the rules and regulations and laws work as far as the Navajo Trust land, but, they say my grandfather's great-grandfather lived here way back in the day, and this is our land, and we claim it from where the sun rises to where the sun sets. It's just, but there's no point in arguing with them. It's just like, all right, well, let me just get my dog and get out of here. I mean, you're just not going to win just because they're just so set in their ways. But so that's kind of how it happened. And I ran with my brother-in-law's dogs for about a good 4 years, maybe, until finally, right around the 4th year mark, he was like, hey, you can make money doing this, right? Because I was out there just, hunting every day, and then going on depredation calls with him. And he's the one that told me, he's like, well, he goes, you can make money doing this so that you don't have to pay out of pocket. You don't have to pay out of pocket for dog food. You don't have to pay out of pocket for vehicle maintenance, kennel maintenance. You don't have to do that. You can actually get paid to do this. And then I was like scratching my head. I didn't know anything about it. He goes, well, you can become a guide and then take people out, and then they pay you to take them out to go hunting, and then you can use that money to, dog food, maintenance on the vehicle, food, hay for the mules, and buying the new collars for the dogs, and just making sure that you have the best possible equipment for the dogs and you. So he introduced me back into guiding again, and it took me about another year before I was actually competent enough to be like, okay, well, I'm all right. I think I can take out somebody. So I went in, got my guiding license, and I only took 2 hunters that first time, and then they got their cats and they were pleased. And, I liked it, being able to take that hunter to see their first cat or to be able to bag their first cat, and just to be able to be there to see them. And it was fun. It's great, man. And I enjoy it. And so after that, I went from 2 hunters to 5 hunters. And that's the most that I'll take in one season is 5 hunters. And the reason for that is to produce quality and not quantity,
I know where we're going, Bryce.
Yeah. So we so that's how it is. That's what I how many hunters I take every year is just 5 regardless. Can I take more than 5? Oh yeah, definitely. But it's just after that it becomes a second job and nobody wants that.
Right, absolutely.
Nobody wants to turn a hobby into another job.
Nope, I understand that. So what kind of dogs are you running now? Whenever I was down there with you, you had a couple blue ticks, you had my girl Star, she was your walker dog, and then you had probably my favorite dog, Nos. He was a red tick English. Are you still running any of those same dogs?
Yeah, this year's been hard, man. Like I texted you a while back, I think it was 2 months ago. This year's been hard. So we lost Nos during a vet hunt with Freedom Hunters. I took a veteran out and we went blind hunting, and dogs were treed on the side of a ledge, and we came across that hill. The line saw us, and it jumped straight down a 25-foot cliff, and Nosh just went straight off, kept on going, and all the dogs figured their way off that cliff and kept on going. They retreed again. I got to the tree, and I guess when Nosh landed, he broke both of his front arms and his shoulders, and he was still trained. That dog was amazing, man. And I pulled him off, and by the time the adrenaline had worn off, he just laid down, and that was it. He couldn't get back up. So I put him down there in the canyon and covered him, made a makeshift cross, and his collar still hangs right there in the canyon now. So we lost Nos, and then after Nos, I lost a blue tick, Magman, and he was pretty good. He was a really good dog. We lost him to a bear. I lost him to a bear this spring, and dogs were treed. I got down to the tree, and I realized he wasn't there, and I looked at the handheld. He was about another 300 yards to the west of me, and I was like, well, maybe he's got something else treed. So I got there, and he was, the bear had grabbed him and crushed his entire chest. His chest was completely flat. So we lost him. And Star, she got really sick. Like she contracted parvo and got really sick. And by the time I got her to the vet, it was just too late. The parvo had already taken effect, and she was not herself. She'd be looking at you, but you could tell that she wasn't there. Like she was looking right through you, type of deal. So I lost her to parvo, and then we lost Rico. We lost Daisy to another mountain lion. That was I think 2 months ago. We lost Daisy to another mountain lion. He had they bayed up, and that mountain lion grabbed her neck and punctured her neck really bad to where it had slit one of her main arteries. By the time I got down there, she had already bled out, and she was pretty much dead. By the time I got there, she was barely moving.
War of attrition out there.
And then Rico, the last one. Rico was just old age. He was just around the house. Just being that old dog. He would I'd take him out with me, and he would just stay on the rigging rail or in the dog box, and he was just my go-to dog that just stayed with me whenever I walked to the tree. But one day I just came back from work, and he was curled up right there inside the house, in the hot and where the sun was shining right against the house, and yep, didn't move. He was gone. So I lost the 5 top dogs. So now I've been slowly rebuilding and figuring out new dogs. So
Man,
that's where I'm at right now. So now I've got some
that is tough.
new dogs.
That is
yeah.
tough.
So this past year I've lost the top 5 dogs. So now I'm back down to 6 dogs, which 3 of them are coming along, and they can get it done in the snow. And one of them, which is Snoop, he's a blue tick from I think he's out of the line from called Big Country.
Yeah, Big Country. He's in the coonhound world.
Ashley Oxidine, Big Country, and John Strickland.
Yep, Big Country. Big Country Snoop was his name. That's on his paperwork that I got from out of Oklahoma.
Okay.
So I've got that, and then I've got another hit. I guess you would consider him the niece to Snoop. Her name is Winter, so she's like the niece to Snoop. So there's 2 Big Countries, and then I've got a blue tick from Smoky River out of Montana. And then let's see what else. And the rest, that's 3. And then I've got another Smoky River out of California. And who am I missing? Oh, I just picked up another one out of Tucson from the bigger staff line. So that's pretty much it. Those are the dogs that I have right now.
So kind of going back, Calvin, obviously you've been doing this for roughly about 9 years now. This will be your 10th year since you got out. You talked about bringing, those pups home and just kind of starting out with your brother-in-law, kind of going over what you knew then to what you know now. What's the biggest change you would say in your dogs, whether it be your training style or whether maybe it's just genetics within the dogs that you've seen has changed from the time where you started to the time where you're at?
Oh man, that's a pretty big question. A lot has changed, man. Like me not knowing absolutely nothing. I've grown up to not know any type of hunting to now I spend about 5 days out of the week in the woods all the time. My wife is always telling the kids, yeah, your dad's gone again. He's in the mountains.
That sounds pretty typical, doesn't it, Bryce?
Yeah, not bad. And I think that's the thing of a hound hunter.
Mm-hmm. And then even my wife telling me to tell my kids to shut up. And she's not talking about our kids. She's talking about my kids and dogs outside when they're barking and something. So she's telling me to shut my kids up. So, I mean, everything's changed, from what I didn't know back then to what I know now, yes, genetics plays a big role to help the dogs get trained, maybe train faster, learn faster, just have that natural hunting instinct. Some dogs back then, I know I used to keep dogs at least 2 years before I would make any type of decision on if I wanted to keep them or not. Now, anywhere between 8 months to a year, I have an idea of if I need to cut this dog loose and find it a new home, or this dog's going to stay with me. Just from, watching their tendencies, watching how they work, how their nose goes, the interests, how fast they're learning. It's just a whole new ball game from what little information that I know now compared to then,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know it all, and I don't say that I do. You come to meet me and I'll talk all kinds of trash about, the dogs and everything else. And the other person's dog, but
I don't know
to be
how to
honest
talk
with
any
you,
trash.
yeah. But to be honest with you, like I don't know anything. Like I barely scratched the surface of hound hunting. I mean, the other day I was listening to you guys' first podcast, and you guys were talking about what was it, strike points, and what was it, tree points, or I don't know. You guys were talking about all kinds of points during your competition points, and man, I was like, my mind was blown to think, like, it's there's more to this hound hunting that on the East Coast than there is here on the West Coast. On the West Coast, you get field trials, but not as far as what you guys have as far as the UKC and PKC and oh man, fucking what is it, like blue purple ribbons and
Yeah,
Yeah, we
PR,
live in
purple
a
ribbon
mecca.
dogs.
Yeah, we live
yeah,
in a
that's
mecca of competition hunting.
yeah. See that out here, like it doesn't even paper dogs out here are not even. It's not really a thing out here.
But it's two totally
Yeah.
different styles of hunting. What we do is, and I'm just going to speak on the competition hound side. What we do is fast pace. It's right here, right now. And what you're doing, that doesn't always work. The terrain that you're hunting is so different. I was going back through these old videos showing Nikki right before we recorded tonight about the canyon that we walked down in whenever I was there. And just trying to get down to where the lions might be is an adventure in itself. And it's not like that over here in the East. It's not like that at all. You've talked about you've lost your top 5 dogs this year. And 4 of those were, to hunting accidents. And that is, I'm not going to say uncommon out here, but it doesn't happen as much, especially that rapid a time frame as it does with you guys. What you guys are doing is on another level. So it's different.
It's pretty rare to lose a dog during a hunting accident here. The biggest thing you have here is roads. Every once in a blue moon, you'll have something, a dog will fall out of a tree or something like that. But for the biggest majority, the dogs that end up perishing during the hunting cycle is usually just because of roads around here.
Yeah. I mean, it's two huge things, but it's like I said, it's just the knowledge I have of just hunting here on the West Coast. Like I just barely scratched the surface. There's so much more information that's out there that I don't even know, let alone the competition side on the West Coast or on the East Coast that I don't even have a single clue what's going on as far as that, and I have people asking me all the time, how do you train these dogs? How do you start dogs? How do you get a rig dog? How do you get a tree dog? And even as far as, I don't carry leads into a tree. I call the dogs off the tree and they'll come right back to me. The dogs will be trailing a bear. They'll be right there with the bear, like maybe a foot off from the bear, trailing on the ground. I can call the dogs off of that bear and come right back to me. They'll leave that bear and come right back to me. The two styles are so different. I mean, I know you guys pretty much carry leads everywhere, and you're pretty much, if you and Bryce were going out in the woods, you two would pretty much have like 6 leads between you two. And for me, on average, I'll have maybe 10, 12 dogs with me while I'm out there, either bear hunting, bobcat hunting, or mountain lion hunting. And I'm not going to carry that many leads with me. I need my dogs to know that, hey, I'm the pack leader. You come listen to me. I tell you to come here, you better get over here. Sometimes, a little bit of stimulation from the handheld is needed, but not a lot, especially when you have the older dogs that listen and, monkey see, monkey do. The younger dogs will follow the suit. Oh, he got called, he broke out the tree. Well, I'm going to go do the same thing type of deal. So it's just a whole different style of hunting.
Yeah, I think the difference between, what you guys do out there. So everything for you guys, handle means everything. They're about to, chase a bear over a cliff or whatever. They're getting in dangerous territory. Whereas for us, especially on the competition side, you can actually put too much of a handle on a dog to where it hurts you in the competition world. So I think a lot of us that do it, religiously every night, for the most part, our dogs have a handle on them, for the most part. But like I said, every dog's different. So you play that fine line of what's too much of a handle and what's, the right amount when it comes to the competition world.
Right. But, there's one thing that Calvin carries that we don't. He's talking about we carry all these leads and all this stuff. What Calvin carries is a freaking sick camera setup. And Calvin gets some awesome pictures and some awesome videos of those dogs, man. I'm telling you guys, if you haven't checked out Redhouse on Facebook and Instagram, you need to, because they are some of the coolest pictures. And I don't know how much time he has editing in those pictures, but they're sick.
Yeah, I mean, I took a couple of classes, in college, but a lot of this stuff was just like everybody else. YouTube taught, hey, how do you take this? How do you take a picture like this? Okay, well, I'm gonna start doing that. How do you shoot from this angle? And let's see. After about 5 years in, I met Mr. Gary Robinson with Carnivore TV, and he was out here hunting, and he had seen my camera setup. It was the greatest, but it got the job done. And he offered me a job. He's like, hey, man, why don't you want to become a cameraman for me? And we'll review the footage. And if we like the footage, we'll air it on national TV underneath my show, Carnivore TV. And so that's how I got to know him. And ever since then, we've been working together. And every spring, I go down to Texas and do a little bit of hog hunting. And then we finish buttoning down all the rest of the shows for that season. So that's where it is. I've only killed myself. I've only placed one tag on one cat. That was my very first mountain lion. That's the only cat I have ever killed with my tag. All the other tags that I've carried since then, I've had tag soup. I've treated plenty of cats, and I've could have filled it numerous times, but I've always had tag soup every single season just so I can train the dogs. For me, it's about the dogs. It's not really about killing the animal. Training. I enjoy training. I enjoy being out there, and that was one of my big stress relievers when I left the Marine Corps and my whole, everybody talks about, you find your stress reliever for PTSD. I had some of it coming back out. So, and being in the mountains, being with the dogs, and just being out there was what helped me. And that's the reason why, I still do it now, is because it's a huge stress relief for me to just be out there and enjoy the outdoors,
Yeah, and then, that fact that... Oh, go ahead, Basham, sorry.
I said, first and foremost, from one veteran to another, and I know Bryce echoes this, definitely want to appreciate your service and what you've done, and the time that you spent overseas doesn't go unnoticed whatsoever, especially for us here at Semper Dogging and what we're trying to do and help veterans to cope with that PTSD. I'm in the same boat, as you are. I did 6 deployments. Heck, if we got down the timeline, we were probably over there at the same time quite a few times. I went in in 2002 and got out in 2014. So
yeah, well,
2014.
It's awesome, and the fact that you're still doing some hunts for freedom hunters to help other vets, that's just another act of one vet helping another one, and that you're able to use your hounds and what you've learned on the beautiful country that you live in to help another vet it's inspiring, and it really is. And I don't just say that because I really do think it's a great thing, and I've been on a Freedom Hunters hunt as well. Went on a bear hunt down in Virginia with Heath Hyatt. You guys have heard me talk about that before, and I think it's a great organization, and that's kind of why Basham and I have kind of partnered up a little bit with Hometown Hero Outdoors, is to help out around here where we can just a little bit. So a lot of good things going for vets, and the fact that you're able to take your dogs and in the country you live in and help out with that organization, I mean, it's a good thing. So appreciate you for doing that, Calvin. I want to I want to go into a little bit more now, though, about like where you're going with your hounds. So we know where you've been. We know the season you've had. Where are you going?
All right. So the ultimate goal of any hound hunter out west that hunts mountain lions, the ultimate goal is dry ground hunting. You talk to any line hunter out west, they enjoy hunting in the snow with a passion. But the ultimate goal for anybody who is a true houndsman out west and that really enjoys being with the dogs is dry ground hunting, being able to do it on dry ground. No matter what, you just getting it done on dry ground. That's my ultimate goal. Yes, I have achieved some goals. One that will never ever be achieved by me ever again is the one that I did last spring, and the dogs, half the pack split up. One went to the north, half the pack went to the south, and I wasn't too sure. There wasn't no snow on the ground, so I wasn't sure what was going on. I knew one had a backtrack, and one was going the right way. So I was like, you know what? We'll see what happens. The dogs went to the north. They were taking the backtrack. Dogs that went to the south, they had taken the right track. And the south dogs treed. The north dogs had kept on going, and they had made a loose like maybe 3/4 mile away. Went over there, picked them up, got them turned around, and they went down south to the other dogs, and they treed. And I had to walk maybe like 400 yards, Came up to the edge of the cliff and looked down. I was like, oh, okay, well, sweet, man. There's a bear right there. Cool. So, and I couldn't get down that cliff, so I had to backtrack and come down and around the edge. And just as I came around the edge, there's this huge boulder right in front of me. I came crashing over the top of that boulder, saw the bear. Right underneath that bear, I'm not even kidding, like 4 feet below that bear is the mountain lion. The dogs put a bear and a mountain lion in the tree, the same tree.
Oh, wow.
And I couldn't believe it. I carry a camera that was given to me by Carnivore TV, a $3,000 camcorder in my pack. I carry that with me no matter what. And then I carry my DSLR camera, and I didn't know what to do. I was so shocked. What did I end up using? I used my phone. I was so excited, adrenaline. I just broke out my phone, and that's the reason why I got the pictures that I had. I had all this gear. I had $5,000 worth of gear in my pack. I never took any of it out, and I used my phone to take pictures because I was so excited. I was just in the moment. I had so mountain lion season is 6 months. It goes from October 1st all the way to June 31st here. So it's roughly, what is that, 8 months?
Yeah, that's longer than 6 months.
Yeah, I think it's like 8 months. So that's what that is. And then spring bear overlaps the lion hunt by 2 weeks. So that last 2 weeks time frame, you can either hunt mountain lions or bears. And I had to tag for both of those animals. And what did I end up doing? I called my brother-in-law. I had signal. I called my brother-in-law, and I was like, hey, and his name's Titus. I was like, Titus. He's like, yeah, what's up, man? And he was still at the house because he was getting ready to leave to go to work. But he was doing some other stuff, but he was still at the house. And I was like, you're not going to believe what just happened. He's like, what are you talking about? I was like, so I'm thinking about filling my tags today. He's like, what do you mean you're filling your tags? He goes, you have a bear and a mountain lion tag. How are you going to film them both? I was like, because I got a bear and a mountain lion in the tree right now. The dogs put them both up in the same tree. He's like, shut up, send me pictures. And I was like, no, I'm serious. He's like, no, you better send me some pictures. I'm not going to believe you. So I took some pictures. I sent it to him, and he's just like, the phone just went quiet for a while. I thought we got disconnected, and he was just puzzled looking at the picture, man. And of course, I had to make sure I took the selfie with me, the bear, the mountain lion, and then the dogs right below the tree. And he was shocked, and he didn't know what was going on. And then
that would have been
he hung up. Yeah, he hung up, and then he FaceTimed me because he wanted to see if it was real or not. So connected through FaceTime, and I sat underneath of that tree FaceTiming him, and he was watching the whole thing and I went live on Facebook Live just so there was no ifs, ands, or buts and about what was going on with me. So that was the main goal that, that I was, well, not I, but the dogs accomplished with me behind them. And I will never ever see that again in my lifetime. That I'm pretty sure of that. There are people that say they've done it, or know people that done it, but I've never seen pictures of it being done. So, I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to say that I'm the first. I'm pretty sure it has happened before, way back in the day when they didn't have cameras, maybe. I don't know.
Bryce, is that like
one
an
goal
opossum and a coon in the same tree for us?
Yeah, but that's not near as cool. We don't hold a candle to that. I just can't believe, I'm telling you guys, I've been sitting here this whole podcast talking up his pictures and videos, and he didn't even get a good one. All he got was cell phone pictures, Calvin. You're killing me, man. But I do remember that Facebook Live. I actually watched that Facebook Live. I saw you went live, and I wasn't busy. I don't know what I was doing. And I watched that live. I couldn't believe it myself. That was awesome.
It's just pure adrenaline and excitement, man. That's not something you see every day. Yeah, I've had 2 bobcats in a tree. I've had a female mother lion with her 2 kittens in a tree. I've had, a sow with cubs in a tree. I've had 2 boars in a tree. Yeah, it's exciting, but not a mountain lion, a full-grown, mountain lion and a full-grown, boar in a tree. I sat there for about a good, 15 minutes before the that boar started moving around. That boar actually laid down on the limb and just pretty much took a short little nap. And that mountain lion was the only one that was afraid because he had a boar above him, and he had 10 dogs below him barking up the tree. And both of them had blood all over their snouts. And the only thing I could think of was the dog's trail to the kill. And both of those 2 were sharing the kill, and they just got jumped straight into the tree. That's the only thing that I can think of that happened. I never stayed around to look for a kill because, I treat both animals, and I just wanted them to, continue eating. I just got stopped. I just kind of stopped what I was doing and loaded the dogs off and just let them be after that. But that's the only thing that I could say that is probably the only way that it did happen. After a while, the bear started moving around and walking back and forth on top of the line, and that line got agitated and bolted out of the tree. And yeah, the dogs all left after that mountain lion, and here I am 4 feet from the tree looking out at this boar, and the boar was looking at me like, yep, I think I can take you. Came running down out of that tree, and I was like, oh shit. And I turned around and I hightailed it towards the dogs, and the boar came down that tree and went the other way. So
well, man, that is an awesome accomplishment. And, like you said, I don't know that you'll ever see that again, but it's awesome that you did, you got to experience that, especially with your hounds. And I know how much those hounds mean to you, man. So I really do feel for you losing your best 5 this year. Nobody ever wants to hear about that. And, I just know how attached you are to them. But I want to wrap this up here. It's getting late. We are doing this on a different time schedule than usual, trying to get our time zone matched with your time zone, east and west. But I got one question. Are you hunting with mules now? Because whenever I was down there, you were starting to train a mule.
Yeah, I do hunt with mules. That's just me myself. As far as taking clients out on mules, that's a whole different ball game because I'm gonna have to get insurance to cover in case the client falls off the mule. So that's a whole different ball game again. So I'm not sure if I actually want to introduce that to clients, maybe a little bit further down the line. But as of right now, it's mainly been just me or a friend on mules, and we just follow the dogs. And hunting with mules is way different, man. I mean, you can cover a lot of ground that you normally couldn't cover with a vehicle. Granted, there's a lot of roads here on the reservation that, 2-track roads and logging roads, old logging roads that you can travel down and get relatively within a half a mile or a mile, depending, and be able to walk that distance. But with a mule, it's a totally different game, and it's just another tool in the toolbox to help me train these dogs a lot better. So, but yes, the ultimate goal is dry ground hunting. So if I can get away from having to need snow to tree mountain lines, I'm going to do it. I'm going to work on it, and the thing that I'm going to need is cold-nosed dogs, and I'm in the right place to look for cold-nosed dogs. The problem is being able to, save up enough money to buy cold-nosed dogs, and even a cold-nosed pup is still going to run like between $15 to $2,000 at times probably. So, but it's going to happen. I'm going to make it happen.
There you go.
It's just going to be a lot
dedication. We're definitely going to have to get together at some other point in time, Calvin, and go over our some military stories.
Oh yeah, man! I've got so many of those stupid stories that are it's just ridiculous that not a lot of people will understand and appreciate that haven't served or doesn't know the lingo as to the type of relationships we had with one another, as far as being different races, different backgrounds, different from different parts of the country, and being able to come together and treat each other as if we grown up together all our lives. It's just a whole different ball game. Just like I was telling my son the other day, I will drink with another Marine and be able to trust that Marine to take care of me if I black out. I cannot trust my brother or my family members to take care of me if I black out.
Yes, sir.
And then my son was like, "What are you talking about? That doesn't sound right." And I was like,
"Yes, sir.
That's just the way it is." I said, "It's just the type of brotherhood and bond that we have as being Marines." I said, and he was like, "Oh, okay. I think I understand." So,
I mean, Bryce is lucky we didn't hijack this whole podcast and just go into our military career and talk about deployments.
I think he'd need a box of tissue to wipe all those tears because we just leave him alone in the corner all night.
Well, guys, we might have to get back together and do that sometime, because I think that those stories would be interesting, and I think our listeners would too. But we're gonna wrap this up. It's getting late. It's almost 11 o'clock here. So, Calvin, thank you so much for joining us. You got anything else you want to add on here before we sign off?
No, man. I mean, anytime you guys need me to run my mouth and come on to your show and help support you guys, help support veterans, help support, hound hunting, I'm all pro 100% to, promote hound hunting and keep this tradition alive. I mean, I understand that I'm new to this tradition, but I'm all for it, man.
Basham, you good?
All good, bud. We appreciate you for coming on. Obviously, keep doing what you're doing. You're making and we don't do it to make a name for ourselves, but you're making a name for yourself, not only, for being a veteran and doing what you're doing, helping veterans out, but also in the hound hunting, being able to train dogs and make your mark, on the dog industry. So we appreciate you. We look up to you. And until next time, bud, just keep training those dogs.
Sure.
All right, guys. Well, thank you for listening to Semper Dog. And once again, if you enjoyed this episode, even with a little bit of audio, discrepancies here. We got a little bit of feedback, but we're going to try and clean that up in post-production. If you enjoyed it, make sure you give us a like and a follow. Leave us a review. We really do appreciate those, and they really do help us out, especially just getting started here with our mission. I want to say thank you to our sponsors, Froggy Bottom Outdoors, Never Satisfied Off-Road, Hometown Heroes Outdoors, guys. It's another great organization, just like Calvin mentioned, with Freedom Hunters, just another great organization. We are now live on YouTube. We're live on all of your audio listening platforms. We even have a LinkedIn account. We're getting professional.
Yes, sir.
Great.
Hey, and let's make sure we give a shout out to Hounds. Go look him up on Facebook, watch him, like, share his page, and on Instagram, which you need to get on that, Bryce.
Hey, I'm already there. We're working on it. So I just haven't told you about that yet. But guys, I appreciate it. And Calvin, once again from Semper Doggin, thank you for everything you've done. Really appreciate having you on here, and really appreciate the brotherhood that you've showed to me over the last couple of years. Hope to make it out there and see you again sometime soon, buddy. So if you guys are good, we're going to sign off here.
We're good, man.
All right, thank you very much.
All right, see you guys. Until next time,
Bye.
Keep dogging.
Yep, take care.
We all know that canines can take us to some wild places, and some of those are only accessible by an off-road vehicle. No matter how hard you try to maintain your ride, something is bound to break on one of your adventures. When you find yourself looking for replacement parts, or maybe even a few upgraded parts to further try and prevent a breakdown, look no further than Never Satisfied Off-Road. Joey Goforth is the proud new owner of Never Satisfied Off-Road and is ready to serve you. Performance accessories such as lift kits, portals, tires, and more can all be found at Never Satisfied Off-Road. Located in Covington, Tennessee, the team at Never Satisfied Off-Road is ready to ship parts and accessories for your ride anywhere in the country. As their new website is currently being built, be sure to follow them on Facebook at Never Satisfied Off-Road 23 to keep up to date on the hottest items and sales. Give them a call at 731-693-9921 to place your order and get your ride ready to follow your canine wherever they may take you. Are you ready for the best part though? Mention that you heard this ad on the Semper Doggin podcast and you will receive a Semper Doggin approved listener discount.